All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're coming to us from. Coach Kevin here, and we are going to jump in and get started. First thing I want to do is go ahead and go in and share my screen. And for those of you who might be brand new with us, or maybe you're watching this as a recording in the future, want to point out something really quick for you that would be helpful. We have a Facebook group that coincides with our meetup. It has the exact same name. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. So we'd invite you to come join us in our Facebook group. The way to find us is to go into your own Facebook account and go into your search function in Facebook and start typing in, I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. The other way you could find us is you could go directly to facebook.com/groups/ I want to be really rich as one word. So why would you might want to join us here on our Facebook group? A few different reasons. Reason number one, if we have anything special to announce for the whole group, you will be able to find it here. The other reason is because, as you can see right there, oh, that was yesterday. You can see that what we do is, as long as I remember to hit record, which that's what I typically do, we go ahead and put the recordings of the Zoom meetings into the Facebook group. So for instance, if you're on with us today and you like something a lot that was said, or there's something that was said and you want to go ahead and review it, it's easy to go back and find what it is that we're talking about. The other reason, of course, is if you miss a meeting, right? If there's something, let's say, for instance, we're in the process of going through a topic and that topic is taking several days. And let's say you're with us Monday, Tuesday, but for some reason, Wednesday, you're not able to make it and you're back with us on Thursday and Friday. You can always go to Wednesday, find it, and get caught up with us. Speaking of that, the next thing I want to share with you is what it is we're in the process of going through right now. We are in the process of going through a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And so typically we'll find something that we're going through together. Sometimes it's just something that takes one day. Sometimes it's something that takes a few days. Sometimes it's something that takes a week or two. And as we go through whatever it is we're going through, if it's something that's only going to, be a day, so in other words, it's probably not a book or something we'd be studying, I'll go ahead and post it right in the Facebook group and you guys can go grab it there and grab your own copy. However, let's say it's a book that we're going through and it's going to take several days or a week or two. I own the books myself. Typically, I have them on Audible and or on Kindle, and sometimes even in paperback form. But what I like to do is if I can find a free one for you guys, I go find it. And that is the copy that we use to go through while we're going through our meetings each day. That way you can get a copy of your own. So we are currently going through The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. So I just went to Google and typed that in and several things came up. However, here's the one I like best and the one that we're going through. So if you want to go grab the same copy and follow along with us, I found this one, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Then it has this dash, the Logos Center. Up here it says www.logoscenter.org. I have no idea what Logos Center is. It doesn't matter. But here's what happened when I clicked on that link. It actually brought me right to the book. Now, I'm not going to go to page 1. I'm going to stay here on page 153 where we're at. But the cool thing is I didn't have to put in name, email, or anything. It just came right to the book. So what I went ahead and did is I just took the download function, bang, and downloaded it right onto my computer. You guys can do that on your computer, your tablet, your phone, however you're following along with us. And so now I have that copy, and that's the one I've been using as we've been going through this for the last, it's been a week plus now. Why are we talking about the subconscious mind? I thought, because I'm going through thinking what you might be thinking, I thought this was how to be really rich, right? I thought this was about how to manifest more money and wealth in my life. Okay, yes, it is absolutely 100%. That is what this meetup is about. And that being said, if you have subconscious programming currently in your mind that is in opposition to what it is that you want in your life, your subconscious mind is going to sabotage you. And you're going to be very frustrated. And you're going to wonder why you try to do things that others have done to be successful and manifest more money, and they have way more money and wealth than you do, and you feel like you're doing the same thing they're doing. Well, if that is the case for you, you have, as well as most of the population of the world, I was going to say United States, but most of the population of the world has programming that is in opposition to receiving more money and wealth in their life. And that is because of the programming that has been input into the subconscious mind. So what we want to understand is how the subconscious mind works. When we understand how the subconscious mind works, we can figure out how those negative programs got in there, but we're not even really going to focus much on the negative programs that got in there. That's a waste of time. What we're really going to find out is how to reprogram ourselves for success and to receive what it is that we want. Because our subconscious mind can become our greatest friend or our very worst enemy when it comes to manifesting anything we want in our lives. So we might as well not just learn how this works for money and wealth. Let's learn how it is for everything in our life, for our relationships, for our health, for anything else. And Joseph Murphy in this book has gone very deeply into how the subconscious mind works already. He's talked a lot about, how it got programmed. He's talked a lot about how to reprogram it. He's talked about money and wealth, and he's talked about other topics. So if today the words money and wealth don't come up inside this book, don't freak out. It's not a waste of our time to do this. This is one of the most important things we can be doing to help us receive the money and wealth that we truly want in our life. There's other things that we've gone through. We started on November 5th, and we've gone through a lot of different, we've gone through some different things, some different books and some different works that we've torn apart and talked about and discussed and figured out how they work. And this is just happens to be the topic for right now. And when we're done with this, we'll go on to something different. And then eventually we might circle back to how we started, because there's a lot of important information available to us to help us manifest more money and wealth in our lives. However, once you've got the foundation of it, it's better off to repeat some of the things than it is to just keep going on and on and on. So here's how we function. I don't pay attention to chat, okay? I don't. So if you're typing things into chat, just understand I'm not going to be paying attention to it. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start reading where we left off, and then I'll add commentary where I feel it's appropriate. However, we are going to have interaction with each other, which is terrific. It's always one of the best parts of what we do. We typically leave 10, 15 minutes or so towards the end of what we're doing. And then I come off a screen share and I open it up to you guys. And then you guys can unmute yourselves and you can share whatever it is you want to share or ask whatever questions it is you want to ask. So that's how we're going. I'm going to get a drink of water really quick here and then jump right in. How she banished that feeling of guilt. Harriet G. worked late at the office every day. She often did not go home until after midnight. She expected that her superiors and coworkers would pat her on the back because she worked so hard. They didn't. She was usually the only one who stayed so late. The others didn't even know about her unusual devotion. Meanwhile, her family life was in serious trouble. Her husband and 2 sons hardly knew what she looked like. When her younger son's Little League team made the local playoffs, Harriet not only missed the game, she even forgot to ask who won. To top it off, Harriet's doctor warned her that she was developing dangerously high blood pressure. Harriet came to talk to me after her husband told her he wanted a separation. I asked her why she shut her husband out of her life and showed so little interest in her boys. At first, she tried to say that she had to work so hard just to keep up with her job. I asked if her coworkers put in as much time as she did. No, she admitted. The others in her company kept pretty normal hours, and they were not any better at the job than she was. I suggested to her why she was working so arduously. There is something eating you inside, I told her. If there weren't, you would not act this way. You are punishing yourself for something. That's interesting. For a while, she resisted this suggestion. She kept trying to say that her working habits were normal, that other people were lazy. Finally, however, she admitted that she had a deep sense of guilt. 15 years earlier, after her father died, she had served as an executor of the estate. She had deliberately kept from turning over a large sum of money to her younger brother. Why did you do that? I asked. Was it a question of greed? Of course not, she replied. My brother, well, he had a terrible drug problem. I knew that he would happen, or I knew what would happen to the money if I turned it over to him. I told myself I was saving it for him, for when he got himself straightened out. And I probed. Harriet took a deep breath. It never happened. He killed himself. Maybe he didn't do it on purpose, but it came to the same thing. He was only 26. I kept thinking, what if I hadn't kept the money? Maybe he would have used it to go into some kind of rehab program. He might still be with us. It's my fault he's dead. I asked her, if you had it to do over again, what would you do? I don't know, she said, shaking her head. But I know I'd try harder to keep my brother, or to help my brother, instead of being down on him because he had a problem. But at the time, did you feel you were justified? I asked. Did you feel you were doing the right thing? Sure, she told me, but now I'm sure it was wrong. That money wasn't mine. So you would not do it now? No, I wouldn't, she replied. Her face grew stern. But that doesn't matter. I can never be forgiven for what I did. I stole from my only brother and he died. It's only right that God should punish me. I deserve it. I explained to her that God was not punishing her. She was punishing herself. If you misuse the laws of life, you will suffer accordingly. If you put your hand on a naked charged wire, you will get a shock. The forces of nature are not evil. It is your use of them that determines whether they have a good or evil effect. Electricity is not evil. It depends on whether you use it to light up your home or give someone a fatal shock. The only sin is ignorance of the law, and the only punishment is the automatic reaction of people's misuse of the law. If you misuse the principles of chemistry, you may blow up your workplace. If you strike your hand against a board, you may cause your hand to bleed. The board is not at fault. The fault lies with your misuse of it. Eventually, I helped Harriet realize that God does not condemn or punish anyone. All her suffering was due to the reaction of her subconscious mind to her own negative and destructive thinking. What she needed was forgiveness. But the true meaning of forgiveness is to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is getting your thoughts in line with the divine law of harmony. Self-condemnation is called hell, bondage and restriction. Forgiveness is called heaven, harmony and peace. The burden of guilt and self-condemnation was from her mind. She had a complete healing. The next time she had a checkup, her blood pressure had become normal. The explanation was the cure. A murderer learned to forgive himself. Arthur O. murdered a man in Europe many years ago. When he came to me, he was suffering from great mental anguish and torture. He believed that God must punish him for his terrible deed. I asked him what had happened. He explained that he had found out that the other man was having an affair with his wife. He had come upon them unexpectedly as he returned from hunting and shot the man in a moment of mad rage. The legal system did not take a very harsh view of his deed. He had to serve only a few months in prison. When he was released from jail, Arthur divorced his wife and immigrated to the United States. After several years, he met and married an American woman. He and his wife have been blessed with 3 lovely children. He has made a successful career in a field where he is in a position to help many people. His colleagues like and respect him. None of this seems to help. All this time later, he still blames himself for what he did. After hearing Arthur's story, I explained to him that scientists tell us every cell of our bodies is replaced every 11 months. Both physically and psychologically, he was no longer the same man who had committed murder. And he had not been for many years. Moreover, he had clearly transformed himself both mentally and spiritually. He was now full of love and goodwill for humanity. The person who committed the crime years before was long since mentally and spiritually dead. In refusing to forgive himself, Arthur was condemning an innocent man. This explanation had a profound effect upon him. He said it was as if a great weight had been lifted from his mind. He realized for the first time the inner significance of the following truth in the Bible. Come now, let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. Criticism cannot hurt you without your consent. A school teacher named Ramona Kay came to me after a lecture. She told me that recently she had to give a speech. Afterward, one of her fellow teachers sent her a note full of criticism. She said that Ramona spoke too fast, swallowed some of her words, and couldn't be heard. Her diction was poor and her text rambled. Ramona was hurt and angry. She felt deep resentment toward her critic and tried to avoid any contact with her at school. When I questioned her, Ramona eventually admitted that she deserved many of the criticisms. She was not experienced at speaking to an adult audience. She had been nervous beforehand, and afterward, she was simply glad that she had gotten through it. That was the reason she had been so wounded by her co-workers' criticisms. It was as if somebody had blasted a toddler for not running fast enough, when simply managing to walk was an amazing feat. As we talked, Ramona began to see that her first reaction had been childish. She came to agree that the letter was really a blessing and a much-needed corrective. She decided to perfect her lecturing skills by signing up for a course in public speaking at a nearby college. In the meantime, she called up the writer of the note to thank her for her interest and input. How to be compassionate. What if the letter Ramona received was totally incorrect? What if she had good reason to think that the criticisms it made of her speech were simply wrong? In that case, Ramona would have had to realize that something about her speech, whether its manner or its content, had upset the prejudices, superstitions, and narrow sectarian beliefs of the notes writer. The problem would not lie with her, but with the writer. To understand this is to take an essential first step toward compassion. The next logical step would be to pray for the other person's peace, harmony, and understanding. You cannot be hurt when you know that you are master of your thoughts, reactions, and emotions. Emotions follow thoughts, and you have the power to reject all thoughts that may disturb or upset you. Left at the altar. Some years ago, I was asked to perform a marriage ceremony at a nearby church. The young man did not appear. At the end of 2 hours, the would-be bride shed a few tears. She then said to me, I prayed for divine guidance. This may be the answer to my prayer, for he never faileth. Her reaction was to restate her faith in God and all things good. She had no bitterness in her heart because she said, much as I longed for it, I think this marriage must have been right action because my prayer was for right action, not just for me, but for both of us. The young woman sailed serenely through an experience that might have sent another person into an emotional tailspin. Tune in with the infinite intelligence within your subconscious depths. Trust the answer as unquestioningly as you trusted your mother and father when they held you in their arms. This is the high road to poise and mental and emotional health. Is it wrong to marry? Sex is evil and I am evil. A young woman who heard me speak came up to me afterward. She told me her name was Carol. I was struck by her appearance. She wore a very plain black dress and black stockings. Her face was pale and bland, without a single touch of lipstick or other makeup. Her manner, too, was subdued, yet somehow watchful, as if she imagined that those around her might suddenly start acting in an outrageous way. Soon Carol was telling me about her upbringing. She was raised by her mother, who taught her to believe that it was a sin to dance, to play cards, to swim, or to go out with men. According to her mother, all men were evil. Sex was nothing but debauchery, inspired by the devil. If she disobeyed these commandments, if she failed to follow them exactly and to the letter, she would burn eternally in hell. When Carol went out with young men in the office where she worked, she felt a deep sense of guilt. She was convinced that God would punish her. A young man she felt close to asked her to marry him, but she refused. As she said to me, "It is wrong to marry. Sex is evil, and I am evil." This was her early conditioning speaking. Of course, this young woman felt full of guilt. How could she not? It was impossible for her to live up to her mother's beliefs. It was impossible to avoid the thought that there was something wrong with those beliefs. The life principle that flows through all of us was struggling for recognition and expression. I suggested to Carol that she try to learn how to forgive herself. To forgive means to give for. She had to give up all these false beliefs for the truths of life and a new estimate of herself. Carol came to me once weekly for about 10 weeks. I taught her what I've learned about the workings of the subconscious, or the conscious and subconscious mind, just as I've set it forth in this book. As she gradually came to see that she had been brainwashed, mesmerized, and conditioned by an ignorant, superstitious, bigoted, and frustrated mother, she started to live a wonderful life. At my suggestion, Carol began to wear more attractive clothes. She visited the cosmetics department store for a free comprehensive makeover. She took dancing lessons and learned to drive. She also learned to play cards and to talk to young men. She broke away completely from her family and began to love and value life. As Carol discovered her inner nature, she began to pray for a companion by claiming that infinite spirit would attract to her a man who harmonized with her thoroughly. One evening, as she left my office, a man was waiting to see me. I casually introduced them. 6 months later, they were married. They're still married and happy with one another. Forgiveness is necessary for healing. And when you stand praying, forgive if you have aught against any. Forgiveness of others is essential to mental peace and radiant health. You must forgive everyone who has ever hurt you if you want perfect health and happiness. Forgive yourself by getting your thoughts in harmony with divine law and order. You cannot forgive yourself completely until you've forgiven others first. To refuse to forgive yourself is nothing more or less than spiritual pride or ignorance. In the psychosomatic field of medicine today, it is being constantly emphasized that resentment, condemnation of others, remorse, and hostility are behind a host of maladies, ranging from the arthritis to the cardiac disease. The stress caused by these negative emotions can directly affect the immune system of the body, leaving you open to infection and disease. Specialists in stress-related disorders point out that people who are hurt, mistreated, deceived, or injured often react by filling themselves with resentment and hatred for those who hurt them. This reaction causes inflamed, infesting wounds in their subconscious minds. There is only one remedy. They have to cut out and discard their hurts, and the one and only sure way to do this is by forgiveness. Forgiveness is love in action. The essential ingredient in the art of forgiveness is the willingness to forgive. If you sincerely desire to forgive the other, you are more than halfway over the hurdle. Of course, you understand that to forgive another does not necessarily mean that you like him or want to associate with him or her. You cannot be compelled to like someone. That would be as if the government tried to legislate goodwill, love, peace, or tolerance. You're not going to like a person simply because someone orders you to do so. However, and this is a crucial point, we can love people without liking them. The Bible says, love ye one another. The J should be a Y. Impossible as this may sound at first, anyone can do it who really wants to do it. Love means that you wish for the other health, happiness, peace, joy, and all the blessings of life. There's only one prerequisite, and that is sincerity. You are not being magnanimous when you forgive. You're really being selfish because what you wish for the other, you are actually wishing for yourself. The reason is that you're thinking it and you're feeling it. As you think and feel, so you are. Could anything be simpler than that? Technique of forgiveness. Here's a simple but effective method to bring about forgiveness in yourself. It will work wonders in your life as you practice it. Quiet your mind, relax, and let go. Think of God and his love for you, and then affirm, I fully and freely forgive. Think of the name of the offender. I release him or her mentally and spiritually. I completely forgive everything connected with the matter in question. I am free and he or she is free. It is a marvelous feeling. This is my day of general amnesty. I release anybody and everybody who has ever hurt me. And I wish for each and everyone health, happiness, peace, and all the blessings of life. I do this freely, joyously, and lovingly. Whenever I think of the person or persons who hurt me, I say, I have released you, and all the blessings of life are yours. I am free and they are free. It is wonderful. The great secret of true forgiveness is that once you've forgiven the person, it is unnecessary to repeat the prayer. Whenever the person comes to your mind or that particular hurt happens to enter your mind, wish the delinquent well and say, peace be unto you. Do this as often as the thought enters your mind. You will find that after a few days, the thought of the person or experience will return less and less often until it fades into nothingness. The acid test for forgiveness. Prospectors and jewelers use what is called an acid test to tell if a metal is real gold or an imitation. There is an acid test for forgiveness too. Imagine that I tell you something wonderful about someone who has wronged you, cheated you, or defrauded you. If you sizzle at hearing the good news about this person, the roots of hatred are still in your subconscious mind, playing havoc with you. Suppose you had a very painful dental procedure last year and you tell me about it now. If I ask you whether you're in pain from it now, you would give me an astonished look and say, of course not. I remember the pain, but I don't feel it any longer. This is the whole story, or that is the whole story. If you have truly forgiven someone, you'll remember the incident, but you will no longer feel the sting or hurt of it. This is the acid test of forgiveness. You must meet it psychologically and spiritually. Otherwise, you're simply deceiving yourself. You're not practicing the true art of forgiveness. To understand all is to forgive all. Once you understand the creative law of your own mind, you stop blaming other people and conditions for making or marring your life. You realize that your own thoughts and feelings create your destiny. Furthermore, you are aware of the eternals and are not the causes and conditions of your life and your experiences. Excuse me, let me repeat that because it's externals, not internal. Furthermore, you are aware that the externals, things on the outside, are not the causes and conditions of your life and your experiences. To think that others can mar your happiness, that you are the football of a cruel fate, that you must oppose and fight others for a living, all these ideas reveal their destructive nature once you understand that thoughts are things. This principle is clearly set forth in the Bible. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Summary of your aids to forgiveness. God or life is no respecter of persons. Life plays no favorites. Life or God seems to favor you once you begin to align yourself with the principles of harmony, health, joy, and peace. God or life never sends disease, sickness, accident, or suffering. We bring these things on ourselves by our own negative, destructive thinking. Based upon the law, as we sow, so shall we reap. Your concept of God is the most important thing in your life. If you really believe in a God of love, your subconscious mind will respond by bringing countless blessings to you. Believe in a God of love. Life or God holds no grudge against you. Life never condemns you. Life heals a cut on your hand. Life forgives you if you burn your finger. It reduces the edema and restores the part to wholeness and perfection. Your guilt complex is a false concept of God and life. God or life does not punish or judge you. You do this to yourself by subconscious effects of your false beliefs, negative thinking, and self-condemnation. God or life does not condemn or punish you. The forces of nature are not evil. The effect of their use depends on how you use the power within you. You can use electricity to kill someone or to light the house. You can use water to drown a child or quench his thirst. Good and evil come right back to the thought and purpose in a person's own mind. God or life never punishes. People punish themselves by their false concepts of God, life, and the universe. Their thoughts are creative and they create their own misery. If another criticizes you and these faults are within you, rejoice, give thanks, and appreciate the comments. This gives you the opportunity to correct that particular fault. You cannot be hurt by criticism when you know that you are master of your thoughts, reactions, and emotions. This gives you the opportunity to pray for and bless the other, thereby blessing yourself. When you pray for guidance and right action, take what comes, realize it is good and very good. Then there is no cause for self-pity, criticism, or hatred. There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There is no evil in the desire for food, sex, wealth, or true expression. It depends on how you use these urges, desires, or aspirations. Your desire for food can be met without killing someone for a loaf of bread. Resentment, hatred, ill will, and hostility are behind a host of maladies. Forgive yourself and everybody else by pouring out love, life, joy, and goodwill to all who have hurt you. Continue until such time as you can meet them in your mind and know that you're at peace with them. To forgive is to give something for. Give love, peace, joy, wisdom, and all the blessings of life to the other until there's no sting left in your mind. This is the acid test of forgiveness. If someone has hurt you, lied about you, and vilified you, and has said all manner of evil about you, is your thought of that person negative? If so, you have not forgiven. The roots of hatred are still in your subconscious mind, playing havoc with you and your good. The only way to wither those roots is with love. Wish for the other person all the blessings of life. This is the meaning of forgive until 70 times 7. All right, we are going to stop there for today. And let me come out of screen share here. And hey, here we are. Looks like some more of you joined us. Awesome, awesome. I can't tell if we have anybody who's never been with us. Looks like everybody here today has been with us at least once, if not many more times than once. So you guys actually know the drill. I don't have to explain it. Either come out and share what you want to share or come out and ask whatever questions you want to ask. Let's go.
Hi, Kevin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Sunshine? I don't know if that's your name or not, but I like it.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm hanging in there. I wanted to thank you for advising Takira and thank Takira for sharing, because yesterday I had my procedure, and though my voice is not at 100%, but I was like, I really wanted to walk my pup when I got home. And I think you read something too, or you told us a story about Bob Proctor and the guy who wanted to be home by a certain time.
Yes.
Or by a certain day. Yeah. So the day before my procedure, I was practicing what you told me to do, saying that I was healed, just like at the story of from The Secret. And because of Takira, and she was like, yeah, I said I envisioned that I was going to be home and I was going to be feeling good. And so I did the same thing. I was like, I imagined myself looking at the time, and it was 5 o'clock, and I was walking my pup. And actually, it was around 5 o'clock that I walked my pup. I didn't get to walk him by myself because I was sedated yesterday. So they advised that the person that picked me up should walk with me just in case. But I wasn't too groggy to do it myself. The thing that ailed me most is my cotton mouth from not being able to eat or drink for so many hours. So thank you guys so very much.
That's awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that. That's cool. Really cool. Anybody else want to share something or have any questions about what?
Hey, Kevin.
Hey,
What's up,
hey,
man?
Landon. Hey.
So I am going back through that last, or I guess it was like 2 books ago, The Secret of Being Rich or something.
Oh, the Science of Getting Rich?
The Science of Getting Rich. Thank you.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And I'm on the chapter. I've already read it like twice.
Good.
But I'm back on to the gratitude chapter.
Uh-huh.
And I was hoping you could explain in more detail of like how exactly gratitude works. If I'm grateful for like what I see in front of me, won't I keep attracting like what's in front of me?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's an awesome question, actually, because I used to have those concerns too. Like, if I'm grateful for this, I'm not going to get anything more than this, right?
Right.
Is that the feeling?
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly enough, logic says that's the case. Like, well, you're satisfied, therefore, you don't need anything else. It's really strange, but let me tell you a quick story. Bob Proctor told it. It was my self-study course from what's it been now? 15 years ago. And Bob Proctor was telling the story about two farmers that lived in a particular small area, but it was a farming community, right? And what ended up happening is, they weren't far from each other, and a person, it was a priest who came by, whatever, it doesn't matter the religion, but he was going by visiting the different people in the community and asking them how things are going, right? And one of them, they lived across the street from each other. So, how's it going? Oh, it's horrible. One of them, it's horrible. This is bad, that's bad. Crops are doing this, things are not, cattle, all this just awful stuff, right? And while this priest is asking the questions, God is like, you ungrateful out, you think this is bad, let me show you what bad really is. Well, the guy, as he's walking, he leaves, he goes walking, goes to another farm, and literally, I mean, they're like across the street from each other almost, right? And he's asking the other guy how things are going. He goes, oh, they're wonderful, the crops are great. It'd be just everything about it, this is wonderful, that is wonderful. And God basically looked down on him and said, oh, you think this is wonderful, you haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
So that's what gratitude does. It doesn't take away from us being able to manifest more than we already have. If we want nicer things, more money, whatever, by being grateful. Think about this. Those of us that are parents, but remember when you're a kid, I don't know what your parents were like, but when your kid comes to you, right? Do you really want to give them more? No. But when your kid comes to you and you already gave them something wonderful and they make such a big deal about it, you're like, oh, you thought that Christmas was good. Wait till the next one, man. Wait till your birthday, right? You have this automatic desire to give more that's built within us when people are good to us and when people are appreciative, right? But when people are just like, so you kind of got the mix of the person that's, down here vibrationally because they're complaining. You got the person that's kind of right here that's just satisfied. They're okay with where they're at, but they don't say much one way or the other. So they're not praising what it is that they have. They're not knocking what it is that they have. They're just existing, which that's, a good number of people. And then there's the person or people that are always talking about how happy and grateful they are that so-and-so did such and such for them, or that this blessing showed up in their life. And when you listen to them, you're like, golly, it seems like angels are all around them. In a sense, right? Because you're like, it just can't be that good because it's not that for me. Well, it's that good for them because their attitude towards it, and it's going to bring more of it. So that was a great question because I remember the same thing. Like if I say I'm happy for this car, right? I also heard Oprah share something one time too, and she said, you know what? Money tends not to come to you until you're grateful for the $2 that are already in your pocket. If you can't be grateful for that which you've already been blessed with, you can't really expect a whole lot more to come to you. So.
Okay, good to know. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Any follow-up? Do you have anything else you want to ask or say?
So it also talks about, having gratitude for basically everything throughout your day and, just kind of living in a state of gratitude. Is that how you have carried yourself and seen success? Like,
That's when I
find
see the
gratitude in
most
the life.
success. I can't say I've always been 24/7, 365, right? However, I do know that when I am in a state of gratitude and appreciation and thankfulness, that life does come a whole lot easier. And typically when I come out of a good state like that, it's because I'm getting into a selfish mode and thinking about myself. You're like, oh, what do you mean? I mean, I think about things that I want. So that's not the selfish way about it, in gratitude. But then I get to work, right? Which I don't do as much anymore as I used to. But okay, I've now thanked you. I now ask, now it's time for me to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm going and going and going. And I lose out on that feeling of gratitude, that feeling of thankfulness, that feeling of appreciation. And I start distancing myself from that personal revelation, inspiration, and intuition that I could be receiving to make my life much easier if I would just stay open to that and stay grateful all the time.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
You know, on that same thing, years ago, I had a conversation with a partner of mine, and she's the type of person that if a penny's in front of her, she'll pick it up. If you're in front of her and you drop a nickel or a quarter, she'll pick it up and put it in her pocket. And I said, I don't like to do that because it, right? So she goes, Rika, if there's a penny in front of you as you're going down the street, you pick that penny up and you be grateful for that. So I went one day to get water and there was a penny. I picked it up and I thought, you know, Janine's right. This is fun. I love it that I just walk somewhere and there's a penny. So I picked it up. A few months later, I was walking my same route I walk every day. And I was walking around and I saw something folded up. I said, what was that? So I came back around and it was a $20 bill.
Yeah.
I picked it up. I picked it up.
Sure you did.
I tithed $10. I don't remember what I did with the other 10, but I did pick it up. So I thought, Janine has a point.
Yeah, kind of amazing stuff. But chances are that 20 either wouldn't have shown up or you wouldn't have been aware that it was there, right? It might have still shown up, but you might not have seen it. Mm-hmm. But you were in the mode of picking up, you know, the good that God's trying to give you. And sometimes, I remember it was another story of this person that was wishing for new dishes or new, you know, plates and things like that. And, well, they ended up getting a gift somehow, but one of the plates was cracked. So they were all upset about it. It's like, hang on, was this, you know, sometimes what we also receive too, we receive the essence of what we're vibrating. So if you receive partial of what it is that you want and it's good, receive it. Don't turn it away because it's not exactly what it is that you want, especially if it's trying to be given to you as a gift, right? Receive it and take that as a sign that you are getting closer in vibration to with what you really want. So you can look at that plate and go, hey, instead of there's a crack, hey, I was asking for dishes and I got, you know, another one. That doesn't mean, because sometimes we think that's the finality of it. Okay, that's all I'm going to get. No, that's not how it works. That just shows you that you're closer in vibration. Have you ever, and I know it's a little different than actually receiving the car or house itself, but have you ever thought of a car, and I'm talking to anybody here, that it is that you like or want, and then you get this manifestation almost of like that day you see the car. I remember taking a drive somewhere where I knew I was going about 40, 60 miles away from where I was at. And I made it, and my wife was with me. And I made up my mind. I'm like, you know, I want to see today. This is so funny. I'm like, I love Ferraris, by the way. I didn't say I want to see a Ferrari, but I know it was. I wanted to see like an exotic car, and I wanted to see like a Rolls Royce and a Ferrari in the same day at roughly the same time. Well, as we're driving out to go where we're going and where we were staying at the time and living, we were close enough where that seems semi-realistic. There are people around there that own stuff like that. But what I didn't expect to have happen, so almost immediately when we left, we go down the road and Boom, there's a Rolls Royce. Like, okay. Well, we go to the place we were going to, which, by the way, in that area, there really wasn't a lot of wealth. But as we're driving, we get there. And we do our thing with where we're going to be, and then we're getting ready to head back to come back home. And most people went a certain direction. Well, I felt led. I'm like, I'm going to go this direction. So we went a slightly different direction than everybody else that was leaving that place. And when we went that direction, there was a line parked of Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and McLarens.
Oh, wow.
That were all chasing, they were all following each other. There were at least 30 or 40 of them.
Wow.
Right? But it's because I was open to not going the way I normally went and open to the inspiration. I saw that. Now, that let me know that I was at the time in vibration with that. Now, what we have to do is stay in vibration with stuff like that in order to receive it. Okay. But it was assigned to me from what I had asked for. And I don't even know why I felt like asking for it that day. I don't usually ask God for signs per se. And I wasn't asking for a sign like, hey, show me you're there. You know, that really wasn't it. It was just, this was just something I wanted to see that day. I thought that would be unique. And I thought it would be, it would definitely be unlikely to happen in the way that it did happen. Absolutely was unlikely. I mean, it must have been like the Ferrari club that was out there at the time. And they were out in an area where we were that wasn't the nicer area where the Rolls was, where I would have expected to see the Ferrari.
Next question.
Yeah, sure. Whoever that was or is.
When we talk about the like absolute laws and things like that concerning all of this, like you know how you give the comparison of gravity and stuff, and everything that's in our subconscious. If this is all so accessible, are we like asleep to it? And the people who like Joseph Campbell and Leslie Householder and yourself and Bob Proctor, are they just? I know that you're teachers and everything, but are you just more aware to what you already? Yeah,
we're not like Superman, Superwoman, okay? And we weren't born with like some mega.
Are we being, the people who don't access that, are we being rewarded in our lives for our poverty somehow psychologically? Like, are we staying there?
Oh, God never intended for us to be as confused, I believe, as we are. Okay, that wasn't the intention. I'm not going to talk so much about the other side of it, okay? But if there's a God and good, do you think that then there's a lot of polarity, right? Right. So there's one side and there's the other. So if there's the other side, do you think there's something or someone out there, again, don't want to focus on it, that doesn't really want us to receive all that we can receive and have all we can have and enjoy life the way we could enjoy it? And we could say it's strictly subconscious programming if you want, right? But somebody had to put the crappy ideas out in the first place in order for them to get implanted into us at some point. How far back in history that goes, who knows, right? Sounds like it started out at the very beginning, pretty much, right? So we're dealing with a society that has accepted a lot of things to be normal because we made them societal norms. But what is really normal is to think what it is that we want without the subconscious mind getting in the way of us imprinting that on the universe and sharing that with God. It's just the programming that gets in the way. All those laws that we're talking about, they're always functioning 24/7, 365. They don't like stop and start for us depending on our attitude. Okay, they are always functioning the way they function. The only thing that really gets in our way again is our programming. So, but we still have to understand what the laws are too, so that we can go reprogram ourselves in case we have a program that's in opposition to any of those given laws. And it helps us through awareness a little bit. You can't just be aware of stuff and everything's all good if you don't go reprogram your subconscious mind. But at least an awareness lets you know that, oh my gosh, there's a contrast between receiving through the creative method versus struggling and fighting through the competitive way. And the world is, and I believe there's an adversarial, right? Because there has to be two ends of the spectrum. I think the adversarial way is what has got programmed into us over the years. And we don't even realize that that's the game that we're playing. So we get stuck in playing this game that society tells us to play, which is you go to school roughly age 5, you finish at age 17 or 18, and then you either go to work somewhere or you go on for more education, and on and on and on. And we have this projected societal thing, even though over centuries that has changed. The way that people actually went through their education and learning and then on into professions, that has changed over time. But we pretty much follow a pattern that's created to help supply companies with people that will go out and do the work. And then originally the agreement was you go do the work and we'll make sure you're taken care of. But that's an old agreement. And the conditions weren't the best either back then. But that was the agreement. You don't all have to be entrepreneurs. We'll take care of this. We'll create this bigger machine and you become a cog in the wheel, but we'll make sure if you're a cog in the wheel that you get to eat and you got a place to sleep. Maybe if you need transportation, you got a car to drive, or at least access to a subway or whatever. We'll supply you, we'll keep you alive, and we'll give you a little bit of entertainment for the weekend so that you have something to look forward to before you come back on Monday. Was that God's plan? I mean, really, seriously, do you really think for the unlimited beings that we are, that was God's plan for us? No, but it's the accepted plan by society. And there's probably some places in the world where that's not exactly the accepted plan. And I know a lot of times we look at those places as impoverished or whatever. Well, that's also a program for them. Those people have grown up not knowing anything more, so they have to struggle for their food and their water and their shelter. But if they were taught, and that's why I love what Bob Proctor is doing, he's not the only one, but one of the places he goes to for a charity to put some of his money is a program that builds schools, but those schools also are required to teach these principles as part of the curriculum. Therefore, they'll at least get to learn this while they're learning what would be considered practical knowledge too. But they do need a place, they need a school to go to, they need homes to live in, they need water to drink and food to eat. But now they're being taught that there's more to this than that, and your thoughts will actually reflect back to you. So he's working, and he's not the only one. Again, he's working with other people, but that's their thought is, now that I understand these laws, I want to share them with others. And there are people out there, that can afford seminars and coaching and things like that. When I say afford, you guys all can afford it. I love what Bob Proctor has told me, and he's told others. He's like, look, people will do absolutely 100% what they really want to do. They will. If they want to go to Disneyland and they don't have the money, if they focus on it long enough and stay with it, they will figure out how to go to Disneyland. They'll save the money up for the whole year or 2 years. They'll receive a check from an aunt or uncle that will help pay for it. They'll do this, that. If they want to go to Disneyland, they'll go to Disneyland. And they'll buy things that were important to them when they bought them that are no longer important. Just go look in people's closets. Just go look in their storage and look in their closets. So Bob says that when somebody comes to me and says they don't have the money to improve themselves through seminars and coaching, that's their paradigm, that's their story, but that's bullcrap. Because they always end up with what they really want. So what they're saying is they really don't want it. So Bob helped me with that as I was becoming a coach, and also as I was actually making the decision to do that, because it's like, people are going to come up with these excuses and things. He's like, yeah, I know. He goes, but everybody needs this. Everybody needs to understand this, and it's fine to be compensated well for sharing it, because if you share something and it helps that person make $100,000 or $1 million, not just over the next year, but every year for the rest of their life, then it's probably, you can charge them almost anything you want, and it's going to be worth it, because they'll take that and change it. People spend way more money on college and universities and things like that and don't get anywhere, and they still don't know how to think. they know how to be an employee, right? So it really is a situation of awareness, but then as we do it, we still have to follow through, and our subconscious is going to battle us on the follow through. You have to understand that's going to come up. It's going to battle you on the follow through a little bit because you're trying to change what it thinks is normal. And when you're trying to change what it thinks is normal, it's going to come against you a little bit. So you have to do things in such a way where the subconscious mind is more susceptible to that. That's why the morning and the right when you wake up and right before going to bed are good times to reprogram yourself. That's why if you can calm yourself at different points throughout the day and work on that, that makes it a little bit easier. And over time, the subconscious mind, once it accepts what it is that you want as being normal for you, subconsciously, it now goes on autopilot and works to make sure it happens for you. So the laws are important to understand how they work, because we break ourselves against them when we don't understand them, because we unawareingly do things that we shouldn't do. However, probably even more important is getting our mind programmed for what we want, because then the subconscious mind will actually help us obey the laws. Once the subconscious mind is convinced of something, it's gonna move, heaven and earth to make sure it happens. That's why we're taking as long as we are on this particular topic. Yeah. Thank you for your question. Any, did I answer?
Thank you, that was wonderful.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I answered, or you got the answer you were hoping for anyhow. Any other comments or questions?
Okay, so I want to follow up with that. You said subconscious. Okay, so you're talking about some meditation exercises in the morning and at night. Mm-hmm. Now I'm a scripture study type of person.
Okay.
So in addition to the scripture study, and your suggestions.
Okay. So what I mean by that is before you get up and out of bed, right? Before you jump up and go do anything, stay there for 5 to 15 minutes, roughly. 5 to 10, maybe 15. You really don't have to go any longer than that. But this is the step after you.
I've got 4 dogs. 4 dogs.
Okay.
Okay.
So they don't let you sleep, or you shut your mic off?
Those dogs, 5 minutes, man, they're barking and ready to go. But we'll work on that.
I got you. Well, yeah, figure something out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
There you go. But what you actually have to figure out before you even really go there is you got to decide what you want.
I know what I want.
Yeah. Okay, good. And you need to live it in your mind vividly and feel it as if it already is. Whatever that is that you want, right? Whatever you want to be, do, or have, you don't look at it, and you don't look at it as a movie that you're watching a movie with you in the movie. You feel it as if you are in the movie. In other words, if you were to look and watch yourself, kind of like in a dream, you don't see yourself walking around, right? In the dream, you only see your face if you pass a mirror, just like in life itself, right? So you're the participant. You're not watching a movie of you doing something. You are in the movie doing the thing, and you're feeling it, and the whole movie is wrapped around you, mm-hmm. Right? So if it's name something, it doesn't matter which thing it is, name something that you want.
I'm going to get this house gutted and remodeled.
Okay, perfect. All right. So what you do in the process, now, is this something you already have the money for, or no? Okay, good.
I mean the money to do it. I'm going to work on getting them.
Okay. So
financial stability, I guess.
Okay, cool. So you live in your house and you create in your house, which you probably already are because you're talking about, but you redo it, and then you go use your house the way you would use it as if it's already all done. Mm-hmm. If your kitchen's different, you see yourself cooking on the new stove, right? Mm-hmm. If your shower, you see yourself taking a shower in the nicer shower. You know, you do everything you would do as if it already happened. And what will start happening is you will come out of that, particularly in the morning. At night, you're dozing off to sleep. But when you do this in the morning and or multiple times through the day as you can find a chance to do it, when you start coming out of that, and the life that you come back out of, which is what we're in right now, feels fake and that feels real, that's when you know your subconscious mind's accepting it.
And another thing that I wanted to ask you about was how do you, was something about you making more money than what you spend. That's the thought process. I think I heard that little phrase coming from you, that you want to make more money than what you spend.
That wasn't me. I know I'm not saying I would never say something like that.
Oh, well, I guess it was just something that I heard.
Yeah, that's cool. What I do instead of always, now I'm not saying that I don't put a dollar amount out there sometimes for certain things, but mostly what I focus on is what it is that I want to be, do, or have. And I focus on being, doing, or having those things. And then the amount of money required to make that happen shows up. The ideas necessary through that inspiration, revelation, intuition, what steps to take to receive it. Sometimes it's going to be to go do something to make more money, right?
Right.
Other times it is not going to have anything to do with me making more money. I don't know how many times you've been on with us, but I mean, I was given a car. I was given $100,000+ car that I didn't pay for.
I like that. I wasn't on there. I wasn't on there at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I was given a $130,000 car that I didn't buy. So, and not forever, but I got to use it for 9 months, but I didn't have to pay for it.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah,
that was nice. That was really nice.
But there's a process I went through that made that happen. I'm not going to go through all that right this minute, but
I understand.
Anything out there that you can appreciate and like and pretend that it's yours. See, this particular car that I received, I wasn't focusing on trying to get that car. I saw it once when it first came out, you know, it was a magazine, well, it's probably online, right? But an online type magazine and story about the car. And I'm like, that is really cool. And I like it, but I imagined myself owning it, driving it, loving it, playing with it. And it wasn't even in the top of like the cars that I like or want, but it just stuck out for me. And I put it out there. And then occasionally I'd go back to that site. I wasn't always going to that car, but I'd come across that car every once in a while, and it brought back that same feeling. So I probably did that a dozen times or so, but I wasn't really focused, but I was super grateful for that, even though I wasn't trying to get that car. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then a couple of years later, I became business partners with somebody who became a partner of mine. And about 6 months after we were partners, he went out and bought that car. He knew nothing about the fact that I had actually liked the car. He knew nothing about the fact of what I had done in visualizing it or anything. And about 3 months after he bought the car, he said, you know what, Kevin? He goes, I don't know why, but this car really, it just isn't me. I thought I would, I like, it's a great car, but it just is so different than who I am. It really reminds me totally of you. And he goes, so if you want to drive the car, as long as you pay for the gas and the maintenance, which was fine. It's basically, it's yours for however long you want to drive it. Like, there you go, right? But I've done that with things like flying on a private plane and stuff. If you don't have a subconscious block and you don't make it a big deal, Rhonda Byrne, who's the author of The Secret, talks about this in, I think this one is called, so you got The Secret, The Power, The Magic. She's got a couple others too, but The Power is talking about love, how she actually received a dress that she saw on somebody else, not because she was trying to find the dress. She wasn't like saw it and said, I'm searching for one just like it. She just saw this person wearing this particular dress and it was beautiful. And she loved it. She's, that's amazing. And she wasn't jealous or anything, wasn't trying to go get the dress. And that person ended up with, you know, she saw it. Well, later on, she was in a whole different country and she saw that particular dress. And not only was it there, but it was discounted like 50%. And it was the only, and there was only one there, and it was exactly her size. And interestingly enough, that dress had sat there, and then different people had wanted to buy the dress but never followed through with it. And then she came and got it for half price, and she had the dress, but she wasn't fighting or trying to do that. And the reason it happened is that dress became hers. Nobody else could buy the dress. And the dress had to make its way all the way to this particular shop at this particular country at this particular time for her to walk in, see it, and buy it and take it home. But she didn't make it a big issue. She just, so I'm telling you guys, anything, that's why don't be jealous of people with more than you got, okay? You see somebody that has something, don't call it, don't get upset at that person, right? Don't talk about money as filthy, stinking rich. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself.
I used to.
I know we did. A lot of us have. Okay. But I'm telling you right now, don't do it.
No more.
No more. No more. And even if it's someone you don't like, right? Because there's somebody out there. Remember, we just got done studying why we don't put negative thoughts out towards other people, because it just comes back to us anyway. So, but anytime somebody has something that you think is wonderful, praise it. It may or may not show up in your life, but it's certainly, if you're praising things and feeling good about it and have that attitude, only good can come back to us when we're thinking good. When we're thinking and feeling good, only good can be coming to us at that point.
I love this.
Yeah.
You are so good.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you are really helping me. I don't know about anybody else, but you are so helping me. I wish I would have started a long time ago when you first started, but I was wrapped up in trying to start this new job at New York Life. But this is really helping me get over my negative patterns of all these years. I love this.
Well, thank you.
I love it. I really do. I'm so grateful.
Well,
I am Kevin.
Yes.
Kevin, can I talk?
Yes, you may. Whoever it is this
it's Karen?
Hi, Karen.
Anyhow, this is, I mean, nowhere near like what your lady with the dress was, okay? But the other, last week I was going through the store and I saw this lady with this cute top that it's just my style, okay? It had little sparklies on it and everything. And she was too far away for me to ask her where she got it or anything, right? So I just forgot about it. And I was going around doing my errands that day, and I was actually looking for Christmas stuff on clearance, right? And cool. I went past this rack, and I went, "Oh my God, that's the top!" And just like you said, it only had one. It was my size, and it was on sale. I'm like, "Thank you, God."
Absolutely,
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it when that happens. It's so cool.
It is, and it's because you saw it, you liked it. You didn't feel jealous. You weren't, it was just all good.
Yeah. I wish I'd started this a zillion years ago, but I'm glad I'm starting it now. That's what's important.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Karen. Any other questions or comments before we go today? Okie dokie. Well, I will let you folks go. Thank you for taking your precious and valuable time to be with us today. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye, everybody. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you,
Kevin. Man, Kevin.
Bye,
Take it easy.
Thanks.
Bye.